Hello, my name is Bird Running Water, and I belong to the Cheyenne and Mescalero Apache Nations. I'm honored to be welcoming you to our reimagined Sundance Film Festival, coming from the Indigenous lands of North America. I'd like to pay a special tribute to the Ute Tribal Nation, the Lenni Lenape Nation, and the Tongva people. We thank them all for giving Sundance Institute our homes. I would also like to honor the Indigenous lands and people from where you are joining us. Please enjoy the show. Ihehet Ahanaka.
Good evening. I'm Clark Weens, co-founder and president of the Circle Cinema Board. Welcome to Circle Cinema and to the Admiral Twin Drive-In, who have something in common. They were both featured in the Tulsa's film of The Outsiders. Welcome also to Sundance Film Festival 2021, hosted by your Circle Cinema, Tulsa's non-profit theater. We thank you always for your attendance, especially during the pandemic. Your safety comes first. Circle Cinema opened in 1928, 93 years old, and is looking forward to its 100th birthday. Community conscious through film, the Circle motto, is well supported by the independent films that the Sundance Film Festival brings to the world. Having the festival here in Tulsa helps to complete that circle. Historically, Circle Cinema has worked with many other nonprofit organizations to bring awareness to their mission and to work with them to make Tulsa a better place to live. In keeping with that tradition, Circle Cinema is donating 100% of proceeds from the Sundance General Admission tickets to the 1921 Race Massacre Centennial Commission, and will work with them to facilitate actions, activities, and events that commemorate and educate all citizens. Thanks again for all your support in keeping the Circle part of Tulsa's culture now and in the future.
Hey, quick question. What do these jobs have in common? Accountant, carpenter, beautician, electrician, photographer, graphic artist, interior designer, choreographer, writer, chef, seamstress. They all work in the Oklahoma film industry. And there's a place for you to join the action. Learn more about starting your film career in Oklahoma by visiting okfilmmusic.org/getting started.
Hello, my name is Yusuf Kazemi, and I'm the Outreach and Production Manager for the Oklahoma Film and Music Office. We are so excited to be a sponsor of the 2021 Sundance Film Festival at Circle Cinema. Part of the programming is their Beyond Film series, and today we're bringing you a panel on the making of the movie Wild Indian in Oklahoma. Wild Indian is an official selection of the Sundance Film Festival, celebrating its world premiere in the dramatic competition. You can catch the film streaming on January 30th and February 1st, and we're honored to have some special guests representing the film today to talk about the experience in Oklahoma. Thomas and Randy, would you guys please introduce yourselves and tell us your role on the film?
Yeah, thank you, Yusuf, and thanks to Oklahoma Film and Music and everything you guys do. I am Thomas Mahoney. I'm the producer of Wild Indian.
Hey, my name is Randy Wayne. I'm the production manager and location manager for Wild Indian.
Awesome. Great to have you guys with us. Thank you for making times out of your busy schedules to join us right now. Thomas, I'd love to start with you and find out how you came on board this particular project, Wild Indian.
Yeah, I've been producing professionally for about over a decade, based in Los Angeles, and I've done a lot of smaller budget genre films, horror, thriller, sci-fi, and I've made that kind of like my bread and butter for the greater part of my career. Wild Indian was a script that came my way, and when I read it, I was really enthralled. And I would say like I had not, usually when you're kind of in genre, you don't necessarily get scripts that are out of genre. So you kind of just stay in genre for the most part. Not that there's anything wrong with that. So to get something that was really high drama thriller like this was refreshing, but also the material really spoke to me. And I talked to the director, some other people, and really said, this is something I really want to be involved with. And I think the idea there was bringing on a producer like myself that had experience in shooting um, on location and also shooting, in a area that worked for this type of movie from a creative level. And that's kind of how I got involved with the project.
Awesome. And on that note, how did Wild Indian come to be about in Oklahoma with its filming?
Yeah, there were some recommendations about where we could shoot this. Naturally, just to be transparent, the film does not take place in Oklahoma. The film takes place in the Midwest, in the upper part of the Midwest, and San Francisco. So, two places in the country that are very far from Oklahoma. And I started to do some research, and I think I was even having some early conversations with your film office about it. And it seemed like the right place for the film. There was a couple Sundance movies that preceded us that had shot there in years past. So that was kind of something that I looked at. I even talked to some filmmakers that had shot there, and their experiences were positive. And it's always a mixed bag when you get on location. Um, but I always felt like your film office and the people I talked to on the ground, even people ultimately we never worked with on the movie, just people that were in the community as other line producers or production managers, or people that had gear or whatever, very informative and very supportive and very friendly about the Oklahoma experience. And it went a long way for me to be like, at least if we went into there, I felt like that community would embrace this sort of film.
That's what we like to hear for sure. And it's worth noting too that Wild Indian is the fourth consecutive year we've had a film that was produced in Oklahoma at Sundance. So we're very excited and honored to continue that trajectory. Speaking of connecting with amazing local individuals, how did you and Randy Wayne here of Thunderbird Films connect for this project?
Um, it was kind of interesting because, usually one of the things that I do from a producer standpoint when I go on location, and I've shot a lot of places. I've shot in Eastern Europe, I've shot in Las Vegas, I've shot in LA, obviously, I've shot in Canada, Alabama. Um, I usually bring out my own line producer, and then I try to find a local component that's going to work. This way, this time I was trying to find a line producer on the ground in Oklahoma, but all the ones that were recommended either by the film office or through other means were all busy and occupied. And Randy and Talia, who was our other production manager, the other part of Thunderbird Films, weren't even on my radar. Like I didn't know what this was. I had never been there, so I had um, nothing on the ground. And we got there we only prepped this thing for a few weeks on the ground. We prepped a lot remotely. Um, and my line producer, I ultimately had to find a line producer based in LA. One I've worked with already a few times on some stuff in LA, so we were familiar. And I said, we got to find somebody on the ground to be either a UPM or location manager, some sort of production services entity, anybody. And we were drawing up blanks like everywhere. And I think honestly, like the way it came together was I think he put up this is Edgar Rosa, our line producer. I think he put like a Facebook posting randomly, and he has a huge network. And he just said, going to Oklahoma looking for anybody who has experience shooting there. And I think that's when Talia was either connected to him through somebody they had mutual friends with on Facebook. and he started a conversation with her. And this is kind of like, and Randy could correct me, but it was like almost like in the infancy of their idea for Thunderbird Films. Like I think they had an idea of what they wanted to do uh, in starting a production arm in Oklahoma, but they had not yet been solidified in that. So I think the opportunity was mutual because they were like, well, here's a feature that's coming in that we could be a part of. And I was like, here's a team that knows what they're doing that I would love to come on. So I think the marriage made sense. And then once I started to talk to Talia and Randy, I really knew that, Randy naturally being from the area was our guy. That was, he knew where everything was. He knew everybody in the community. He knew I could show him a picture of something like for a location comp and have a bunch of options like within 24 hours. And they were really enthusiastic and energetic about this project and about helping us get this done.
That's awesome, Randy, because I think that's right? I mean, this was kind of one of your first projects together as Thunderbird Films. So can you help shed some light on that and what that experience was like for you?
Yeah, it was really cool because born and raised in Moore, Oklahoma, and then I moved to LA when I was 19 and had worked there for 18 years and landed back in Oklahoma. Saw an opportunity to produce movies here. We have great crew and great production, but just not that many. So it took a little bit of convincing, but I got Talia to move to Oklahoma, and within the first, like Thomas said, 2 weeks or so, she had this call with Edgar, and she was like, I have a film for us. And I said, let's read it. We read it, loved the script, and we were just all in at that point.
That's awesome.
But this was the first film for Thunderbird Films, yeah.
Yeah, and it's worth noting, you guys, I believe, shot the film at the end of 2019, which was an incredibly busy year for Oklahoma's film industry, with multiple films kind of happening on top of each other at that time. And so, Randy, what you wore many hats as UPM and doing locations, but what did you bring to the table as Thomas mentioned here in terms of working through the script, trying to match the creative vision with what was here in Oklahoma?
It was very challenging. There were 30 something locations and 3-week shoot. And the director Lyle is very specific about what he wanted. And so there's no fail in me and Thunderbird. And so I just went out and asked him a million questions, and Thomas, and we just worked together. And once I would send photos for locations, and then they would be like, don't like this. We don't want a patio. We don't want this. So I would just keep driving around. And, I do know Oklahoma, but I didn't know it as well as I do now because I knocked on probably 100 doors, put notes in mailboxes for locations that I thought might work. So the locations was a fun challenge, and somehow we'd be filming and I'd leave for 2 hours to go look for locations in the middle of filming and come back and be like, here, what about these? What about these? And the crew was very challenging. It was very tough because, like you said, everyone was booked up. And so we just went through the Film Commission's website, and I called pretty much every single person on there, looked at resumes, and ultimately, we got someone we got a crew that worked, and we got the movie done.
That's awesome. And you have an interesting, we've kind of hinted at it too, but this year alone, your company, Thunderbird Films, has produced at least 3 films here in Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. Is that right?
3 films and 3 commercials this year.
So what would you say is the secret to Oklahoma's success right now in terms of attracting so much production work?
Well, there's 3 things that attracted me, and it probably attracts most people. Number 1's a rebate. It's always the rebate. To have a cash rebate it puts us ahead of so many other states, and also the 35% is, if not the best, one of the best in the country. So that's huge. The landscapes, it surprises you. It's a flat state for the most part, but we filmed here for San Francisco, for Minnesota. We just did a movie for Malibu here. You know, there's ways to cheat it. There's waterfalls. There's things you can do to make this state work. So people just automatically assume, oh, you can't sell this from Malibu. Well, we did. We just did it. We just sold it for San Francisco. You know, you shoot your exteriors out there and you come back and you shoot the main stuff here. And then the last thing when people actually come here is how friendly the people are, and just not just crew, but people in the state everywhere you go, stores, restaurants, it's just a friendly state.
Absolutely. And Thomas, this was your first time producing a film in Oklahoma. So what were some of the things that positively surprised you or made an impression on you when making your film here?
You know, as somebody who has been on location many times, it was definitely, you know, a warm, inviting community. And it was kind of like a no BS kind of community, which I respect as a producer. And I think any producer or filmmaker would respect in going to a place. Like, what I mean by that is you hit it on the head. Coming in late 2019, we were kind of like in, like most independent films or most films is like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Like maybe we were going to shoot in August, then August didn't happen. Maybe we were going to shoot in September, then September didn't happen. Maybe we're going to shoot in October. Eventually, you know, we landed in early November. But every time I was going to come, the community was very transparent. They were just like, there's a lot of production here. There's 4 shows, there's 3 shows, there's 2 shows. Come in October, come in November. And that was able to inform us, because some states just want you to come. I've been there before, and then you show up, there's no crew, there's no locations, there's no anything, and then you're really behind the 8 ball, especially when you're making an independent film like this. So I appreciated the candor from the community in that. And then, you know, one of the things, I'm an explorer myself. So I'm the type of guy that I'll go somewhere and I'll drive around and find shit. And that was one of the things that I found. I could go places and then send Randy like 20 pictures and be like, stuff like this or this. And then Randy would like go make the connection on the local level. But you guys had a lot of what we needed for our movie. And I think as somebody who works a lot in production and producing, there's a lot of virtues to that, because like we said, we made San Francisco work. I think downtown Oklahoma City can probably, you know, for the most part, double for any major city, East Coast, West Coast, anything, Southern, whatever you want. And then you have, you know, you have woods in close proximity, even in places we didn't shoot. I remember going way eastbound, close to the Arkansas border, east of Tulsa, and what's that?
Tahlequah.
Yeah, Tahlequah, and seeing some pretty amazing stuff that I wish, you know, it was like, I wish we could support that. And maybe in the future, because I could bring something there, because there's some amazing scenery, some amazing locations, and some amazing stuff in that area of the state that we didn't even touch. We stayed mostly in the OKC area. But you have that, you know, there's a million lakes. So unless you really have something that takes place in an ocean, you could kind of make it work. The suburbs, you guys have those. It could look like any town USA. It could look like small town USA. It could look desolate. You have Guthrie, which was like an amazing location. I know it's kind of like cliche for you guys because everybody wants to go shoot there. But everybody wants to shoot there because it's amazing visually. Like we got some amazing visuals out of this movie from the Guthrie portion of our shoot. And everybody was just so friendly. Like even the locations we dealt with, the private ownership, the corporate ownership, the city, the mayor of Oklahoma was a friend. Oklahoma City. He helped us shoot in a downtown courthouse. And you're not getting that support in a lot of places.
We love to hear that for sure. And so looking ahead, I mean, with Sundance, what kind of feeling is that to have your premiere be showcased at a festival like this?
I mean, it's a bittersweet experience because you know, it's like I'm a film fan and a cinephile, and I go to Sundance like every year as just a consumer of movies, and a lover of cinema, and then as a filmmaker. And so for years, like I've had movies play at all sorts of festivals, Toronto and Tribeca and AFI Fest and stuff in Europe and, you know, all over. But I've never had a film in Sundance. And, you know, ironically, the one year I do get a film in Sundance, there's no physical Sundance. However, um, I think it's quite amazing now, what they've done, because more people can see the movie from anywhere. Like, we weren't going to be able to have like a, you know, obviously fly everybody in and have a huge premiere and everything. And now that those tickets were on sale online, and you know, I hope people got them that were on our crew, or people, and I know because people have texted me and be like, oh, I got tickets to your movie, can't wait to see it. um and it brings like this experience together where even your friends and family can see it, because not everybody would have had the ability to go to Utah to go see it and find tickets and get there. And Yeah, I mean, I think it's quite incredible. So there is like a bittersweet feeling about it, selfishly, that it's not in person and you don't go through that whole pomp and circumstance. But what the festival's done this year is pretty amazing, with the virtual experience, and then B, in cities and states that, you know, luckily have an ability in COVID to have live screenings, safe, are able to do that, such as your guys' state. And I think you guys have some great, you know, films that are coming your way.
Thank you. Yeah, we're thrilled. We're of course thrilled with the platform that Sundance and this experience can provide for your film, but also exposure of Oklahoma's film industry and what we can do here. Randy, as I mentioned earlier, you've had, you know, 3 film projects, 3 commercial projects that you've done here in Oklahoma. What is your messaging to producers when you're pitching Oklahoma? Like, how are you bringing people in? I think you're on mute.
Sorry. So whatever it is, it's working, because not only have I got producers to bring films here and bringing films here in the future, I've also had about 7 to 9 friends from LA or New York already move here to work with, you know, Thunderbird, and just in the state in general. Um, the industry is still going here, and we're not shut down, which is nice. And it's just good because, well, Thunderbird, we're growing as well because the demand's so high. We opened up a G&E rental house. We have a camera rental house. We now have trucks. We're thinking about going into transpo with trailers and having a sound stage as well. So there's a lot here. I think what it is we sell the state, the rebate, and ourselves. And we promise them, you know, you'll have a good movie here. We wouldn't take it. We don't over promise. We over deliver. And that's why I tell them.
That's awesome. Yeah, your company is such a prime example, I think, of everything that, you know, the industry has been, what we've been hoping for, you know, to happen here in Oklahoma, now is happening organically with people like you being the vessel for that. And Thomas, on your end, you know, after your experience here, and hopefully we get to bring you back in the future for another project, how would you like to see Oklahoma's industry continue to grow? Oops, you're on mute now.
I think it's going in the right direction. You know, these states always have their period of like trying to figure out how they're going to be in the industry. I think that what Randy's doing is quite remarkable in bringing people out from LA, to be part of that community. And that's the one thing that you find, you know, places on location never have, is the crew. And there's these wonderful rebates, but then there's no local crew to hire, so it kind of negates the idea of that. And then all of a sudden you're flying people in and you're not going to get rebated on that. At least Oklahoma seems to have a definite crew base to support that. But you guys are going to need more crew if this continues to grow. And I think that's not, that's just reality. But I think there's enough there to make it work if you're trying to do a film like Wild Indian, or anything in that wheelhouse. And I think that as long as more stuff goes there and there's more work there, then more people are going to relocate to there. And I think that that's what you guys need to keep momentum on, in my opinion, because I've been, I've seen a lot of states kind of like come, and it ebbs and flows. And once the people don't go there anymore because of something like that, then, the legislature, whatever, will start to question the validity of the rebate. And then if the rebate goes away, then, you don't have anything. Also, I think this is just selfishly, but I think you guys got to up your rebate cap as well. So more films can come, so they're not expired by the time, now you have to wait till whatever date and come after that because the money's all spoken for. So I hope that there's some movement there, so then you guys can really sustain year-round productions where people aren't waiting for, oh, well, you can't come between X month and X month right now because there's nothing to apply for. We got to wait till the next cycle. I think if you guys can,
Amen.
I think if you guys can create a rolling cycle or no cap at all, it's only going to benefit the state. And I hope that they see that.
Yes, no, absolutely. Our biggest commitments and priorities right now are, of course, continuing the growth of the workforce and infrastructure here to sustain that production. It's pretty exciting times with launches of new organizations like we have the Oklahoma Film and TV Academy. We have Prairie Surf Studios, which is actually the Cox Convention Center in downtown Oklahoma City, now being marketed for soundstage use. And of course, the incentive, as you mentioned, we're thankful to be able to attract what we have so far. And I think the fruits of all that labor is being evidenced right now and is going to continue forward positively as we move into legislative session and other things, because we're grateful to have the program extended to 2027, but obviously want to be able to accommodate more productions as the industry grows, for sure. Well, I appreciate you guys joining us. Do you have any last comments or words about your wild Indian experience here in Oklahoma?
Yeah. As a helicopter flies over me, I hope it doesn't. It's LA, so they're out here.
Sure.
There's some people I just want to thank locally that this movie couldn't happen without, as that's okay.
Sure, please.
Just some stuff, Brent Green, for sure, and David Holt, the mayor of Oklahoma, Michelle DeLong, the local casting director, really instrumental in helping us. Some other crew, Callie Nichols and Andrew Appleyard, just some great, all the PAs that worked on the film, Caleb, David, Amber, Desiree, the studio teachers, John and Rosemary. John was also our stunt coordinator. Matt Moulton was great as our armorer, I think that it was a good crew, and those people, even I'm probably forgetting some people, but those are some people off the top of my head. Tori, the accountant, just people that I think these are the people that are the bread and butter of this industry there. And, Randy knows all of them. And so as long as they're all committed, and they are, this will continue to grow for you guys. And I'm excited to bring something back. I'm already eyeing a project right now. That's why I brought up the thing, because I wanted to try to see if I could do it at some time in May, but I was told got to wait till after. So, I'm trying to get everything together so I could get that application in, so I could start exploring some time later in the year potentially.
That sounds awesome. And Randy, what about you?
Yeah, I just, Talia and I are very thankful that Thomas hired us on the project. The first project as a company, and it's going to Sundance. It's pretty special. And every film, we have different key positions, but you're only strong as your leader. And I remember early on in pre-production and the page turn, Thomas ran those, and he was so focused on creative and getting what we needed to sell a film and make a film that would do well and be beautiful, that he trusted his production team to do our jobs. He would oversee it, but he didn't breathe down our necks, and he just focused on creative. And I think that's why the film got into Sundance, is because we had a producer focused on making a great movie. And it was nice that Thomas led well, and he was always calm, didn't raise his voice, and it was nice. It was appreciative. So thanks, Thomas.
Very, very awesome. And thank you guys for showing appreciation to our local crew. We couldn't do it without people like you and producers bringing your films in. So thank you. We'll wrap up our panel with that. Please go watch Wild Indian, streaming as part of Sundance. And we're very thankful to Circle Cinema and all of Sundance and our sponsors for having us. So thank you. And thank you guys for joining us for this.
Thank you, Yusuf.
See you
Pleasure.
around.